Welcome to Dodgers Dawgs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. A 5-3 victory for the Dodgers last night. And I'll be quite honest with you, I really appreciate it. I don't enjoyed, I think, is the right word to put, but I think appreciated is the best word. The way that the Dodgers manufactured offense last night. So I really enjoyed the offensive game for the Dodgers. Not because they are clicking on all cylinders, but because they're not. The fifth and sixth innings last night, I've said it many different times, I'm not one for small ball. I'm not one for bunting and intentionally giving up outs to move runners over. I'm not necessarily old school or new school, but I am not big on advancing runners by intentionally giving up outs. But I love hitting into outs when you're trying to get a hit, like Will Smith did on the sacrifice fly, like Freddie Freeman did whenever he advanced Mookie Betts to third base after Mookie Betts got the double. So I do like the what Coach Holt calls the winning baseball plays. It's not necessarily small ball because you're not bunting and you're not just saying, okay, we're giving up an out. You're still giving Will Smith the chance to get a base hit. You're still giving Freddie Freeman the chance to get a base hit, of which, hey, welcome back, Freddie Freeman. Wasn't that just a great thing to see last night? So you're getting the best of all worlds because you're giving Hall of Fame type hitters, all-star type hitter and Will Smith, a chance to get a hit, but then the results at the end, you're still getting the runner moved. And so here's the way I put it. It's not small ball per se, but the way that I put it, as far as the winning baseball plays, when you do make an out, make it a productive out. So like, for instance, Andy Pages at bat in the sixth inning. Yes, he got out. Yes, he was 0 for 4, but it was 9 pitches. Okay, that's a quality at bat. Anything 6 pitches or above is a quality at bat. That's not an empty at bat. So why is it not empty? A, because it advances pitch count of whoever's on the bump, and B, if it's a relief pitcher and pitch count doesn't really matter, then you're giving everybody in your dugout that much better of a look at what the stuff for that pitcher is that night. So not necessarily small ball, but make every single out that you had. Now, hey, it's baseball. This isn't going to happen. You're going to hit lazy fly balls and easy weak ground balls. And it's like Kike Hernandez, for instance. Here's what frustrates me about him. Yes, the batting average is in the low 100s. That's frustrating enough. But what's more frustrating about what he did, and I know he got the hit last night. He had a home run a couple nights ago. But the most frustrating part of his offense last night to me, and you can disagree with me if you want, was the fact on 2 different at-bats, he swung at the first pitch every at-bat. And on one at-bat, it was a 1-pitch at-bat. He saw 1 total pitch, and on another at-bat, he saw 2 total pitches. And so he had a 4-pitch at-bat too. So he had a 1-pitch at-bat, a 2-pitch at-bat, and a 4-pitch at-bat. So 7 total pitches in 3 at-bats, and we're 0 for 3. That frustrates me that not only are you making outs, you're doing so in a way that's not advancing anything for the team. Whereas, like mentioned, like with the Shohei Ohtani, not the Shohei Ohtani deal, but the Andy Pages at bat, where at least it's 9 pitches, that at least advances something for the team. So what is it that you hang your hat on? Andy Pages, I think, can at least hang his hat on. For the most part, he's swinging at the right pitches. At least he did last night. He's at least seeing a lot of pitches. So you could at least make the case that as a young rookie, he sees more and more pitches from pitchers. Certainly he has to get better at getting better timing with them and figuring it out. Now, we'll see. We've heard the 150 at-bat benchmark with Andy Pages. That was for Gavin Lux. James Outman was a little bit less. Be interested to see exactly. The 150 is just kind of we talked about this last year with Gavin Lux. That's just kind of a guideline. With Gavin Lux, it was like, well, we got to the 150 and we saw improvement. We weren't there yet, so they went past the 150 because they saw the improvement they needed to make, and they got rewarded for that. So I'll say this. I enjoyed last night's offensive performance, not because the Dodgers did click on all cylinders, but because they didn't, and then they figured out a way to score in back-to-back innings, in the middle innings, that won the game for them. And then also, at the beginning of the game, we'll get into Dustin May here in a minute, I really like the fact that Shohei Ohtani, he'd been struggling. He was 0 for whatever in the last game. We talked about it. Shohei Ohtani, he doesn't go into slumps. He goes into what I call mini patches. Coach Holt hit on this at the very beginning of last year. I can't remember which show it was, but Coach Holt was 1,000% correct. Is that when Shohei Ohtani, he gives in one of those mini patches, when he starts thinking left center field, opposite field gap, to me, when Shohei Ohtani goes into a mini patch, it's because he's pulling off the ball. He's taking that high and inside pitch, his head's flying, his front shoulder's flying, and to be honest with you, it doesn't even look pretty. And so I think that's when he goes in the mini patches. So to stay on the ball, to keep flying off the ball, to keep from pulling off the ball, you just think left center. Now, none of his hits went directly to left center, but you can't convince me that wasn't his timing. Even in his first hit, when you saw him, what you saw him do, you saw him keep his weight back. You keep your weight back trying to think opposite field, but Shohei Ohtani, so then all he did, he basically just let his hands do the work on that at bat. But Shohei Ohtani's hands are so strong, and they're so fast, and they're so quick. He was able to use his hands to buggy whip the barrel and just pound it into right field for a 102-mile-an-hour single. Now, if you go back and you watch that base hit by Shohei Ohtani, and you realize it came off the bat at 102, there are very few human beings on earth that's ever walked the earth that can take a plate approach like that and hit a ball to right field 102. But it was a left center oriented type of timing pattern. He just happened to have quick enough hands to buggy whip the barrel. And then his home run, dead center. He's just trying to let the ball get a little bit deeper. Again, trying to just not pull off the ball. Best way to do that, opposite field gap, and just nails one to center field. So that was a lot of fun watching Shohei Ohtani, and then also Mookie Betts. So Hall of Fame type hitters, great hitters. Whenever you get into pitchers counts, you have to hit the ball where it's pitched. That's going to be, I know we have all the modern day analytics to get the ball in the air and all this, but there's a lot of things that great hitters do. And here's a couple of them that Mookie Betts did last night. One is whenever a pitcher makes a mistake, okay, great hitters hit mistakes. Well, I'll say this, not that. Every hitter hits mistakes, because if a major league pitcher executes the pitch properly, your odds of getting a base hit are so low, it's incredible. So great hitters, I'll say this, they don't miss mistakes. So that cement mixer that Mookie Betts got last night in his first at bat, he's a great hitter. You throw a cement mixer to Mookie Betts, you make a mistake, he's going to hit it out of the ballpark. So for one, great hitters don't miss mistakes. And then if you noticed on his double down the line, I think that one was more impressive than his home run, because his home run was just a mistake pitch. That's what you expect Mookie Betts to do with a cement mixer. I'll say this, though, his double down the left field line, it was a sinker, and that ball was diving. And so great hitters, when they get into, it wasn't necessarily a pitcher's count because it was 2-2, but he had 2 strikes on him, so he had to have a pitcher's count approach. So when I say that, what do I mean? Hit the ball where it's pitched. So where was that ball pitched? It was diving down. It was sinking. So what did Mookie Betts do? He hit it as hard as he could into the ground, got a double down the left field line. So whenever you get 2 strikes or into a pitcher's count, you got to hit the ball where it's pitched as hard as you can. Mookie Betts displayed both of those. He didn't miss the mistake, and then he hit the ball where it's pitched, and because of that, he had an absolute great night last night. So I thought that the 5th and 6th innings last night were just simply fantastic, where you had the different rallies. You had definitely, so you had the double by Mookie Betts, and then you had the at-bat by Freddie Freeman. Again, that was a productive out, not an empty out. That's what I'm talking about when I say winning plays. Ground ball to the first baseman, advances Mookie Betts. You have the fly ball to center by Will Smith. Again, it's an out. Both Freddie Freeman and Will Smith both made outs, but they were productive outs. They weren't empty outs. They weren't empty at-bats. So those parts of the game last night were very fun. for me. And then the sixth inning I thought was a really nice inning as well. And those were innings, of course, you have the big inning with, you're going to get the thump with the home runs that Mookie Betts gives you, but you also need the manufactured innings to win the games on the margins again, whenever you're not playing offense as well as you can. So in the sixth, Ohtani and Freddie Freeman again just had a put the ball in play type of focus. Then Mookie Betts, after having two wonderful at-bats, hitting the home run on the cement mixer, and then also going with the pitch by taking the sinker that was diving in the zone and hitting the ground ball for the double. He then took a walk, which is a really pro thing of him. And then Will Smith hit a sac fly there again. So another great inning where he manufactured a run after you had Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts hit home runs. So in a game to where you can look at it and you go, I still don't think the Dodgers are playing as good as they can. You can look at that and go, golly, they did everything that they needed to do to win a game on the margins. And that's super exciting because that's the type of playoff game that you're going to have that you saw last night, where you're not going to hit 19 home runs. You're not going to score 11 runs. So can you score 5 runs and still win a game? Now, hey, I know it's the Rockies. They're not very good. I get all that. But again, I'm more of the process-based type thinker at this point in the season than I am the results. And so that's kind of why I'm excited about that part of it. How about Dustin May? Dustin May was awesome. Now, here's what I'm going to say about Dustin May. I really enjoyed it, and I've coached some football, not at a really high level or anything. Baseball definitely is my deal. But I've been in positions to coach football here and there. And one thing that we always discussed, like calling plays in football, was, let's say you run inside zone, which is like most people's most simple play in their playbook, and you get 4 yards, then run the damn thing again and keep running it until the defense figures out how to stop it. So many times you'll see an offense in football run a play and it works, and then you don't see it again, and then you hear the offensive coordinator go, well, the defense is going to adjust to it. We just assume that, and you're like, man. And then also, here's another thing that you'll see a lot too, is you see them run a couple of simple basic plays, and then they go to all these fancy plays, and it's because they get bored. They get bored. So my big comment to all of the people that are in position to call offensive plays always was, don't get bored, man. Hey, if you're getting 4 yards, that's a great offensive play in football. Don't get bored with that. You don't have to get to the rest of your playbook. Stay with it. Don't get bored. That was Dustin May last night. Dustin May came out throwing that sinker. So what was beautiful about the sinker and the sweeper he is throwing, it's not the ending location. So the sinker turns right, the sweeper turns left. And they both start at the exact same tunnel. So as a hitter, you see the ball come out of the exact same tunnel, and then one turns right and the other turns left, and they're both very sharp. And there is nothing, not anything as a hitter that you can pick up from Dustin May that allows you to be able to identify which way the ball is going to turn. So good luck on that. And so my point is, Dustin May came out and he was heavy sinker, he was heavy sweeper, and that was it. I mean, he threw maybe a couple of change-ups, maybe a four-seam here and there. But, I mean, by and large, it was start the sinker and sweeper in the same tunnel, let them change which way each one of them turns, and let's see if you can hit it. And Colorado couldn't, and because they couldn't, he kept doing it over and over and over. And so we all know Dustin May's stuff is good enough to get major league hitters out. He doesn't have to trick hitters. All Dustin May has to do is execute. So how do you get an athlete to execute better? Simplify. Simplify what you're asking them to do. More repetition over the same things, over the same fewer amount of things, is going to increase execution. So if you do two things 10 times or 10 things 2 times, which ones are you going to execute better? You're going to execute the 2 things 10 times than you are the 10 things 2 times. That was Dustin May last night. He simplified the approach. It was see if you can hit it off the same tunnel, see if you can hit the right turn versus the left turn, not knowing which one is coming, and we'll see. So masterful plan by Dustin May. Simple. Let's see if Colorado can beat me doing what I can execute over and over and over. I don't think they can. Of course, they got the home run off of Anthony Bonda. And I'll say this, and then Bonda walked the next guy. That was where I was disappointed, was the walk to the next guy. But it was very good to see Bonda actually get out of that inning to keep the lead. I mean, a lesser mentality gets so frustrated that it snowballs. Next thing you know, you're actually losing the game. I thought it was good. He was pissed when he walked off the field, no doubt. But I thought it was good that Bonda got out of that inning. The Dodgers still had the lead. You were able to turn it over to Kirby Yates and the rest of that bullpen for the Dodgers. And anytime you do that, Tanner Scott, who did give up a couple of hits, a couple of singles early in the inning, but was able to shut it down. And so he was able to turn the ball over. Still, I know he's not happy with the home run. I know he's not happy with the 2 runs, but you got to be happy with the fact that you did turn the ball over with the Dodgers still having a 2-run lead, and you're turning it over to Kirby Yates and Tanner Scott. Game over. So from a personal perspective, you're not happy, but from a team perspective, you're still in the lead, and so you're okay from there. So that's kind of how I came down on the Anthony Bonda thing. The Max Muncy error early in the game, I'll say this about Max Muncy. You know, he's swinging at that pitch on the outer half, and he's jumpy. So the term that I use is jumpy. Now, what does jumpy mean? Jumpy means that you're not relaxed enough to let the ball travel, to identify spin and location, and just trust the mechanisms that you've taught yourself to swing with, your mechanics. Instead, you're trying to hit the ball way out front. You're trying to swing before the ball gets there. You're swinging at pitches you shouldn't be swinging at. You're trying to pull the outside pitch. Because you're jumpy. You're not letting the ball travel. You're not relaxing. You're not letting the ball get deep with a relaxed state, and just using your hands and the rotation of your body and the training that you've had. You're not trusting that you're not trusting that process to create the results that you're wanting. You're trying to force results. It's called pressing. And I definitely think that's where Max Muncy is at right now. So I'll be interested. Here's another thing about Max Muncy. He's got an edge to him. And part of the reason why he gets in these moments to where it looks like he's pressing to me is because I personally think that his care factor is so high. He cares so much that he puts too much pressure on himself at times. And I think he's in one of those periods. So we'll see if he can come out of it. We'll see how that goes. But again, just kind of in summary, again, Dodgers are not clicking on all cylinders, but I love the way they played offense around the fact that they're not clicking on all cylinders. I thought it was a clinic of how to win games when you're not at your peak, which a lot of times is what identifies teams. That's what identifies how good a team is going to be. So it's like a hitter in baseball. Okay, only about 5 or 6 times all summer are you going to be perfectly on time. The plane of your swing is going to perfectly match the pitch, and you hit it. There's no possible way on earth you can hit it any better. Like, that perfect storm only happens like 5 or 6 times at an entire summer for every hitter. So teams aren't going to fire on all cylinders in every game. So how are you going to play? How is the team going to execute and play games when things aren't perfect? That is going to happen more times than when things are terrible or when things are great. So really what's going to identify a team are the games like last night, which how do you execute when things aren't perfect? And I really enjoyed that game from that perspective. So, hey, I want to thank you for tuning in. And boy, it's a lot of fun to follow the Dodgers. Minor leagues are back in action tonight. Clayton Kershaw making a rehab start for Oklahoma City. I will not be able to make that. I'm very disappointed. I have to work tonight. This is a very busy part of my schedule, but I will have a lot of coverage on Clayton Kershaw tonight. So stay tuned for that. All the minor leagues back in action. The Dodgers are back in action tonight at home against the Colorado Rockies with a 12-6 record. So until next time, I want to thank you for tuning in. My name is Casey Porter, and it is a great day to be a Dodger.